Here at Soul Love, we are always wanting to bring you something new, something original, something that you can connect with. And I have to tell you, we have a new project called We Are Light Beings. Another fantastic episode with you and me, Carly. Welcome back. Great to connect with you again and share everything you do and all the inspiration you bring to us all. So today we are going to discuss chakras. A lot of people are not always aware of what the chakras are all about, how they affect our lives. And I know this is a massive part of what you do, because your gift is that you can just look at someone and not only can you feel, but you see their chakras, you see the blockages, and you help them clear all of that. So I think today is a great opportunity to talk about the chakras, the effect they have on us, why do they get blocked, and how does it feel for some people? Because some people, they feel in a certain way, but they don't realize it's to do with the chakras, or which chakra, or what are they? What does it relate to? So I know this is a conversation we could go on for hours and hours and hours, but I think if we just touch today the basics of the chakras and how they work, I know it's something that's a topic that you know inside out.
Yeah, so I mean, there's loads of chakras that they're all over the body, but there's 7 main chakras, which are basically energy centers. That's what they are. And they look like, you have one coming out the crown. I'm going to make it really simple, as simple as I can in my language. They are basically a vortex of energy, like a mini tornado that spins.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah. And then you have a top.
I see it like a windmill.
Yeah, like a windmill. They kind of go out. And so it's basically a vortex of energy. It's an energy center. And I'm just going to tell you my description of them as a healer, because there's so much out there. Anybody could, Google chakras and they could find so much information. But for me, it's about how I see them. And so I will just start with the 7 main ones. All of them have a front and a back, apart from the crown, which has a bottom, which is the root. So they are like the bookends to each other. And then there is a front and a back out of the third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and then root. And we also have them on our feet, and we have them on our knees. And then there's loads everywhere else, but those would be the main ones that I would focus on. And each have a different energy charge with them. People really overcomplicate chakras, and chakra system itself is really, really simple. But what blocks them is complex. So, for instance, this is a perfect example. If I was to do a lot of energy work on you now, and I was healing you, afterwards, I would have a build up on my crown, quite often a pressure headache. So at the end of a session with a lot of people, or when I'm teaching people this stuff, I'll say that people go, "Oh, I've got a bit of a pressure headache." And I'm like, that's because you've just used your top chakras loads. You've been visualizing. We've been channeling spirit. So I will say to them, "You've got pressure headache. You've just used it, and you've got to build up." So then I would say to them, "Okay, let's visualize. Let's open the crown chakra." And I would say to them so simply, imagine a load of dark energy just leaving your crown. Just clear it, clear it, clear it. And they'll do that. And they're like, "Oh, it's lighter." I'm like, "Yeah, you had an energy build up straight away." So that would be a really, really simple version of why one chakra might block. If you were someone that found it very difficult to voice your truth, maybe you were walking on eggshells, there was somebody just couldn't hear your truth, you didn't feel like you could, you would probably have a blocked throat chakra. Painful breakup. Okay. Afterwards, armor there. That armor was good. That armor got you through. That armor kept you safe. It might be blocking your heart but it's also keeping it safe. Another example of why your heart chakra might be blocked. Anxiety, fear, that's your emotional cupboard, that's your solar plexus, that's right, you know, where your belly button is. Every child, you know, when they don't want to go to school, my tummy hurts. Okay. Or difficult in digesting life. Life's so difficult, life's so hard, it's so painful. Digestive issues, chakra. You know, it's almost too basic to say, oh yeah, your solar plexus is blocked, and it's like, yeah, you know. And then someone will come to me and they'll say, oh, well, you've unblocked my throat chakra now, and I'm like, I've cleared some stagnant energy. You need to keep that throat chakra clear. You need to voice your truth. If you want to have an open throat chakra, you need to change the energy.
Yes, exactly.
I can clear it, but I can't permanently, because it's your action, your programming.
You're just going to reblock it again, aren't you?
You know, so that's how I would explain things. You know, you need to change the behavior. You need to change his mind, body, and spirit. You need to change all three things. You know, if somebody's very ungrounded, go out and walk more. You know, get out of your head. Get in your body, do some exercise, put some roots down, ground yourself. You know, there's loads and loads of things you can do, and it'll be different for each person. But for me to explain how I first saw chakras, I was being taught with somebody, and he said to me, close your eyes and picture someone right now. So I did. I pictured someone, and he said, now imagine the chakra system. And he said, and imagine them like traffic lights, either they're on or they're off. He said, the 7 main ones. And I was like, okay. And he was like, so if they're off, I was like, okay, well, if they're off, they'll be black. And he was like, and if they're on, they'll be white. And I said to him, oh, but I see in colour. And he was like, oh, because he only saw in black and white when he was tuning in. And it was really funny. And he said, okay, so close your eyes again. And he said, think of this person. And he said, quickly, which ones are blocked? And I remember going, crown, throat, heart. And he could see the same things as me. And he said, oh, no, that's good. Those ones are blocked. And he said, now go into it. And I said, well, which one? He went, just go into the first one that's blocked. And I knew it was blocked because it's completely black. And I said, well, do I just go into the black? And he said, go all the way in and then tell me what you see. And I went all the way into the middle of it. And then I saw an image of this manor house and this woman on a pony with a bonnet, and it looked about 17th century or something. And I thought, oh God, I'm going to sound mental. God. And he said, have you seen the manor house yet? And I was like, yes. I said, and the woman on a pony. And he said, you just saw your first past life. So there could be so many different things that would block it. But the very first thing you want to do is picture them very, very simply. Don't overcomplicate it. Tune in or tune into somebody else. Which ones are light? Which ones are dark? If they're light, you're probably all right.
Yeah. So you were explaining the different chakras. I know we have loads, but we didn't get. I don't think we got to the sacral, did we?
No, I didn't do the sacral. So the sacral is our creative point. You know, it's the point of creation. It's not only where we make babies, it's where they grow as well. It's pure creation. What's interesting and absolutely fascinating is the opposite of creation in human behavior quite often is addiction. Because you're not creating, you're numbing.
Okay.
And so you'll find that, and there's so many genius creatives that are actually massive addicts as well. And somehow it seems to go, you know, and the intensity of being a creative, there'll be the need to numb. But quite often I will find somebody when I'm healing them that their sacral will be blocked. And I'll say, what are you doing? What are you doing that numbs you, you know? And then I try to say there's no shame here, like, you know, because it could be there's so many addictions, but quite often,
God, there's so many.
Yeah, quite often what will end up numbing a sacral is not necessarily sexual. It's actually the creativity that's being blocked and then being
that's
numbed.
Interesting. Because so many people don't actually realize that they have an addiction. it's something that they repeat and they do all the time, but they actually don't realize it's an addiction itself.
No, and they also don't realize that they're creative. So many people will say, I'm not creative. And I'm like,
it's
they
true.
are, though. And it might not be, it might be in a slightly more abstract way, you know, but they will be, you know, there's creative force energy in everybody, in every idea you ever have is creative. You know, every thought really is creative. People just think you have to be able to either
absolutely.
be
paint.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what they think the creativity is about. Inspiration, isn't it? It's about your mojo and coming up with all these great ideas. That's what creativity is all about. It's not necessarily about art and craft and
having the
things
energy
like that.
to
Actually
do something with it as well. Actually having the momentum to actually do something.
Yes.
Not just ideas.
Yes. A lot of people say that. Yes. They have the ideas, but they don't know how to put it into action.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, totally. And then we've got the root.
Yeah. So the root I said would be about grounding yourself, putting your roots down, connecting to Mother Earth, connecting to the heart of the earth. Anything that makes you feel safe and anchored in your body is grounding. And then this is the other thing that I think a lot of people don't realize, because I go, what does it mean to be grounded? And to truly be grounded, it means to occupy your body so wholly that you feel complete. And then when you do that, you literally bring heaven to earth by being here, because you're whole and you're shiny and you're totally self-accepting and you're just vast. And you get that when you're really grounded and really in the moment, like completely present.
Which is not often what people do. They're not often in their bodies. They're literally just pushing through life. They don't really acknowledge themselves, their feelings, and connecting with themselves. And that's when people feel a little bit wobbly in life, like everything that's just been going on. Those people that are really grounded would have been able to make rational decisions. Those people that are ungrounded will make irrational decisions and they'll just react instead of actually thinking about things before they actually do them and thinking it through.
Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely. But you also want to be able to feel it through, because you don't just want to be from the head either. So you want to be rational, but at the same time, you want to be anchored so that your energy is coming down. You're in your body, you're not in your head, you're actually in your heart. And then you're making a decision from that place. To me, would be really, really embodying being grounded through your heart and wisdom. And sitting with it, really sitting with it, to me would be being grounded. But you know, it takes huge amounts for me to be grounded. You know, and some people are just naturally more that way. Men generally are more grounded, but they're less intuitive. So you know, you can't have it all.
No, exactly. But this is where it's just so beautiful, because it brings us back to what this podcast is all about, that we are light beings, and how, you know, connecting with ourselves and the chakras and how they work is all about being light beings, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I see somebody, I'm tuning into their body, as I've explained before. I'm tuning into their energy system, but their soul feels light, the body feels heavy, and the chakra system is basically my map of where I look. So if I was to be scanning you in a healing session, I'm looking all over the place, but my map is the main chakra system. So the first thing I'll be like, right, which one's blocked? Which one do I go to first? And I'll be told root. I'll hear it and I'll see it and feel it all at the same time. So it's not just through one sense. And then I would go into that chakra and then I would explore what the block would be. And it could be anything from a build-up of lower energy. It could be an entity, lower energy with its own consciousness. It could be a cord. It could be a past life. It could be ancestral energy. It could be trauma.
It
could be a pocket of anger and resentment from 3 years ago that got lodged there because you had this great big barn and you never quite got over it. It's like, and I'll go into it and I can feel it all. And there's just so many things that the chakra system is the map, I would say, for any energy healer to navigate through somebody else's energy field.
Yeah, but this is why it's so important, if someone doesn't understand about the chakras, that you need to find someone like you to give you a bit of a head start. Yes, we all need to once we get it cleared, we need to do the work ourselves. We don't get this a free ride, do we? We've all got to do work, right? Like you were just talking about the throat. If we're not speaking our truth, you can clear it. But if we're still going to keep that relationship and not tell someone how we really feel, it's just going to come back again. And everything else that comes with grief and the what ifs and the anger and the pain and the acceptance. And that's why I think what you do is just simply absolutely out of this world amazing, that you can help so many, and everyone needs to find, there are many healers, but I think what you do is so profound and so amazing. I think the more awareness that we try and spread, and the chakras is the very first place, isn't it?
It is, and like you're saying, everybody needs a navigator. Even I need a navigator. I have navigators for me. Mm-hmm. We all need them, and because if you don't, the lesson or whatever it is that you're going through, it doesn't go away, and it will just find another form to kind of flower out of in your life. Right. And it won't. And the other thing is, I think in the East, they're all about going in. In the West, we're looking outside of ourselves all the time. I just reach for that, I'll buy that, and it will momentarily make you feel better. Of course it will, but it won't shift anything deeply. And that's why it's so good if you do energy healing, because you're learning to go in. You're actually learning that language of, gosh, oh yeah, that does feel really heavy. Or actually, I have had that since 2019. Or what happened at that time? Oh, I did have my heart broken. Oh, maybe I haven't healed. And it makes you start thinking. And then we can start clearing the energy, and then we can start asking why that happened. So many different ways that we can go in and clear that chakra, that energy point. And clear the theme as well. Release the theme. Move on. And then another theme will come in, but
Yeah, exactly. One step at a time, as they say.
One step at a time, one chakra at a time, Carolyn.
Exactly. So if we had somebody that is not really familiar and they say, so how do I even start to be aware and clear the chakras? I don't know what you would say, but for me, I think one of the biggest bits of advice I would give is, it actually relates to my journal. The Soul Love Journal, it's got so many sections, but it's all about, I say, the 5-minute rule. And that is about giving yourself that time. Ideally, you want to do 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. And in the morning, it's about setting those intentions. It's about the gratitude. It's about acknowledging yourself, going within. How are you feeling? It doesn't matter if it's negative or what it is. It's about going within, which helps with all the grounding and everything. And then the evening is about reflection. It's about why did I get upset with that person today, or what an amazing, beautiful day I had. Because the more that we acknowledge the beauty in our lives or the difficult times in our lives, then that's when we start to appreciate more that does come into our life. And it's a great start of grounding, acknowledging, and going within. Because a lot of people don't even know where to start when it comes to connecting with themselves.
No, they don't. And I think anything that helps that, if you go to a yoga class, they'll start, you're feeling into your body, you're feeling it. You go to a breath work, you start, you've just got to start doing any type of self-care, which puts you in touch with your mind, your body, your feelings, your story, your triggers, all of it, you know, and then you start connecting the dots.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it takes self-reflection and accountability and the desire to actually want to have a better experience, and the desire to actually want to grow, and the understanding that, you know, you are you're a spiritual being, having a human. You're on a journey. You're a spiritual being having a human experience.
Absolutely.
You know, and once you appreciate that, you then start thinking, okay, well, I can either be on this planet in hell, or I can start putting a foot in heaven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you know, our journey will take us to hell many, many, many times, and we get a choice whether or not we want to stay there.
Exactly. And the thing is, the more that we do more for ourselves, and we come from a place of self-love, it makes it that bit easier to be able to navigate. And of course, that's where I always say that you need to look at your emotional, your mental, and your physical self-care, you know, and a lot of people don't even know where to start with all of that. But you've got to start somewhere. And it's been amazing to catch up with you again. And I'm so looking forward to our next episode. So please, please, please subscribe and like and follow and share the We Are Light Beings and the Soul Love Journal, so that we can try and support and pass the love to everyone. Thank you so much, Carly. As always, I love connecting with you. I love your energy. I love you, and everyone needs to connect with you. And if you want to have a session with Carly, you only need to reach out, and we will have everything in the subtitles on how you can connect with Carly. All right then, lots of love.